The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Thanks again for tuning into the Podwans Podcast, where we're here to tonight talk about the deep, deep lore of Minecraft. How are you guys doing today?
Yeah!
Yes! Finally, we get to talk about Steve.
I love Steve. Steve's my favorite.
Man, Hairbrine Sugar this episode was crazy.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about this week's episode of more Minecraft Let's Play, episode 3295, where I'm building the USS Enterprise in Minecraft to scale.
Which model, though? D, E, or A?
The fucking one that fucking Picard dude did, that one. I don't know that much about Star Trek. I got caught in that lie. I'll tell you what, though, I do need to watch Secret Level because they have an Armored Core episode with Keanu Reeves.
I have heard great things about that show. It's on my to watch list.
Yeah, I'll be straight dead honest. Like, the gamer era of media doesn't do it for me. Like Ready Player One, I have no interest in that movie. Like the idea of, hey guys, we heard you like video games, so we made a show about video games. Like Big Bang Theory, not for me. But the fact that the games that they chose for Secret Level like really interest me. Number one, Armored Core is in there, so I'm like very excited about that. But there's some other options where I'm like, I wouldn't think they would have ever done this, so I think I might check it out because it's like just it's shorts, right? Like it's just a few shorts. Yeah, it's like Sex, Love, and Robots, I think, is like kind of the vibe.
Okay, I love that show, so that's good to know.
So I need to watch that, but we are actually here to talk about the Skeleton Crew, the penultimate episode of the Skeleton Crew, where lots of stuff has gone down. I think this was a good, like, penultimate episode. Like, this feels very much like it is setting up for the finale.
Yeah.
What did my cats just break?
I was going to say, what was that smash?
What did Sabine just do? It's the
I mean,
question.
if the cat's named Sabine, probably spray painted something. Or blew something up, or both.
But yeah, no, I know we were talking about a little bit before we went live, like how this penultimate episode, I think honestly, this is probably one of my favorites. Like, I put it up there with Mando season 1, and honestly, it's hard to rate the Mando penultimate episode. I feel like all three of them have been great.
Oh yeah,
because you had like the first season with like the chase sequence on Dakar, then you had the Bill Burr episode in season 2, and then you had the Victorian Guard episode in season 3.
Yeah.
And that one hits different compared to the rest of the three, because I saw the one at Celebration and with a crowd when the Victorian Guards came out, the crowd just went nuts.
I can imagine. Yeah, no, I agree. I like this for me is one of the top penultimate episodes in Star Wars live action. Like the way that it raised the stakes for everyone in the show, realistically, not just the main cast, but everyone in the show, and left us with, I think, one of the best cliffhangers of a penultimate episode for Star Wars live action. I am so excited to see how it is they stick this landing next week.
I agree. It was a pepper shaker, by the way. I have this thing of, because of how they did Crosshair in the Bad Batch, I was like, oh, can't be redeemed. They're not doing it. Does Jod have a shot, or is Jod going to be a? Is
it wrong that I hope that they don't? I think that it's possible.
No, I think
that there's an avenue for him to be there, but I would really love for them to keep him in this characterization that they've had him in. I think it's compelling. I think it's a really interesting angle. I mean, we saw, I think, the full spectrum of Jod this episode, from begging for his life to not be thrown out of an airlock to that turn on Brutus
Yeah.
when the kids captured him. It was just like, and that was in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. That was like, I think, the first 5 minutes of the episode.
I would love for them to keep him on this path.
Yeah. Agreed. And to me, like the way that you described it, like the whole like it made me just think that the way you pitch that in order, it's giving Markion Ro in Light of the Jedi kind of like that. Like, oh yeah, he's kind of nothing, he's kind of like, and then he flips that switch, and you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But I 100% agree. Like, I feel like if he was gonna get a redemption arc, I think they would have teed it up in this episode a little bit. I think they would have he would have had moments where he's like, oh, he cares about the kids a little bit. He's not going as hardcore. But the fact that they went full send into like, yeah, Jaw just killed Brutus. Yeah, he just killed Smee. Oh, he's threatening the parents. Like, I think the way that they set this episode up, I don't think they'll do it.
Well, and the symbolism of that shot of him in front of the parents and that lightsaber ignites. I don't know about you guys, but immediately went Revenge of the Sith. That is Anakin's scene with the younglings, just like that pure evil fear that he gave off with that.
I hope we don't get a backstory for him, in all honesty. Like, I think him having a mysterious, depending on how it concludes, does he get away? Do they kill him? What's going to happen? Is there something he knows that, will be his redemption arc? Something like, he knows something going on with that, and he's going to help, whatever it could be. It could go a number of ways. Like, if we never find out where he's, like, how he got here, how did this pirate learn to use the Force and a lightsaber? Doesn't matter.
I think the thing, I don't think it matters. Like, it doesn't matter if he's an Order 66 survivor. It doesn't matter if he is just a Force user who never got found by the Order. He is who he is now, and I think that's extremely compelling to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he's just his own character, and you don't need a backstory for everyone. It's always nice to get one, I think, but like every character you introduce from, you don't need to know everything about them right away.
Yeah, and I think it would definitely enhance Jaw's character, like just keeping him in this mysterious veil. Like you only see him in the eyes of the kids. It's outside of that first scene in the first episode.
Yeah. I loved the fact that when Jaw shoots Brutus and he takes control of the pirate, like Corsair, basically, and people are still apprehensive of him, like with everything he's doing. I look at and he's like, he clearly doesn't care about the pirates, which it also gives me like, if he doesn't care about the pirates, does he care about the kids, or does he just care about himself? I think it's very strange. Kind of jumping all around the episode, that they took him straight to the Mint.
Yeah.
I think that's very weird. There was no credentials checked, like that the ship, register wasn't docked for that. The fact that like all of these people were like, why is the ship landing? This is so strange. And then obviously that whole thing lifts up and it's like a landing pad, and like everyone's confused.
Everyone rolls off as that thing opens.
Yeah. The landing butthole. It was just like the fact that like no, this was not a regular occurrence clearly for At-Aten, that they just bring him down. Like, because the supervisor made the announcement. We haven't really, I don't think we've heard the supervisor until
that
this episode.
No,
that was the first time.
Yeah. Like, you don't hear the supervisor until now, and they just take him down to the Mint with the kids.
And I think that further the theory that a lot of people have had, and I know we've talked about it, is whether or not the supervisor is a person or if the supervisor is a droid.
Yeah.
To me, this behavior that it's just like, oh, this ship is registered, it's fine. Like it passed its checks. They're trustworthy. That just screams droid to me, or automated program.
Correct.
Yeah.
And also the fact that they confirmed in the episode the reason why the ship was able to get into Atten was because it was specifically built to withstand
To
the
do
storm.
it. Yeah.
Yes, nice High Republic reference there.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for me, I'm going to spoil it for you guys, and I apologize.
Right.
That whole sequence when they went through the barrier, which, by the way, was a fantastic
good.
sequence.
That was really good.
That is, for anyone who's watching, I apologize. I'm going to semi-spoil Phase 3 of the High Republic. That is a modified version of the Stormwall that Marchion Ro developed and deployed to separate off a portion of the galaxy. It's the same technology. Nihil ships were able to pass through the Stormwall because of their path engines. Obviously, the Republic, at least for me anyways, somehow has adapted that technology to make it such that they can identify a ship and allow it through.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really cool moment for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just cinematically, it was really cool. Like the what I wasn't expecting is, like, I was just thinking that this is just a thin layer of stormy atmosphere to make it look like it's a gas giant, and then you can't land on it, and then if you do, you're just going to get electrocuted, and you'll go away, which we saw with like the pirate snub fighters. But the fact that it was this little marble sitting in this expansive cloud, like, that was such an awesome shot. And like, just kind of how you have like this treasure that they're after is this tiny little thing. Yeah. And like, I like the way it was framed. I loved like watching that ship go through it and watching those snub fighters get electrocuted out.
Well, I also
sky.
love the setup of like Jaws like, I'm gonna do it, and Brutus is like, no, I'm gonna send one of my crew members. Then we'll figure this out later. So I love like the little like how they kept building that tension, and then when the kids fly and they're like, wait, hold up, let them go through.
Yeah. I thought it was a great sequence. I thought it was a good high action, like, yeah. We've talked about it, you know, in previous episodes. Like, it's like, the kids aren't gonna die, so there's not like danger here, but it's like you're just like is the ship gonna get zapped? Are they gonna crash land? Like, it was this good, like, you don't know what's gonna happen. Like,
Yeah.
Are we gonna get another this is not at Atten, you know, like, but you know, when it finally is, like, like I said, that shot with just the little marble inside the storm cloud was so cool.
Oh, it's brilliant.
And when they finally landed, it was one of those things. Like, it was a moment that you feel should be such a tender moment, and it did have that. But like, it's like Jod has turned on everyone, and the kids know that this isn't the happy moment that it was supposed to be.
Even though I think like they forgot about it for that momentary second when they saw their parents, right? You saw that release of tension that they had finally made it home. And then you see Wim and all of them look over and see Jod still there, and the terror just returns.
Mm-hmm. But that, and I think the unexpected turns of this episode, again, jumping all around, is like we mentioned, Smee and Brutus. Like,
Smee.
Brutus, I saw it coming. Like, Brutus was like, I was like, Brutus probably is not making it out of this show. Smee, that was, yeah.
And it was like, it was quick. Like, when you saw him gearing up for a fight, you thought, okay, we're gonna get something here, and it's just like, shoop, nope, we're done.
I thought from the very beginning, I think I've said this before on the podcast, that like, I thought Smee's death was gonna be kind of like K2 Esco-esque, where it's like he's gonna defend the kids and he's gonna have like one last stand. He's gonna like go out swinging.
Yeah.
So when that happened, and then like he just gets, like I said, it just happens like that. You're just like, oh, okay, it's over. What the fuck?
I know that you and Harith, you and I have talked about this, talking about The Last of Us Part 2. I don't like The Last of Us Part 2. Not for, just disclaimer, not for those reasons. But there's a moment in The Last of Us Part 2 where a character dies, and it is very much like that, where it is this character who is a very important character. They're like pivotal to the story. They're helping the main characters out, and it is this very visceral and real moment of like, they basically get shot, and they get shot in the head, like running out of a door. And it's like, it's just boom, down. And it's just like, oh, okay. And I felt the same way with Smee, where it was like, oh, Oh, they just cut his head off. Oh my god. Kind of like almost that like I think a lot of media has been doing this recently because it's always the stereotypical like slow-mo falling to the ground, reaching the hand out, and like a lot of media now is doing these very quick, sudden, like blink if you missed it type of like death scenes.
Yeah.
And I think they are impactful in a very different way. Because we got it with Yord. Where it's just like he was fighting and then he wasn't. And that's just like how it happened. And I like it's these very jarring and shocking moments that like when they're framed well, they're shot well. And it's just like when the tension is building and building and building, and then all of a sudden that tension is just gone. Also, because the character's gone.
The shot after Jaw chops off Smee's head and like he lowers the lightsaber, like the look on Jude Law's face is just straight out of a horror movie, and you're just like, oh my god.
He was superb in this episode, from like the opening sequence with him right to the end. High point for him in this show, and he's been great in this show, but he took it to a whole nother level in this episode.
So the thing that I know has been part of discourse in Star Wars recently is like, should celebrities be cast in Star Wars in major roles? And I see where people are coming from, because there's like almost like an easier connection to be made with someone who's like not well known. When you look at someone like Hayden Christensen or Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and stuff like that, where like these are not well-known characters. But I also do think that when you hire someone that is very talented, like Jude Law, like you, like, yes, if I am watching, I'm like, yeah, it's definitely Jude Law, like that's him. But it's like, he is Jod, like in this show. He's that good of an actor where it's like and I think that's just how good the actor is like, no matter how famous they are, no matter how famous Tom Hanks may be, he can still portray a totally different person and make you forget that he's Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And I think Jude Law is the same way. He's very, very talented. I think Joaquin Phoenix is like another one where it's just like very talented characters. Or very talented actors that can portray characters and make you forget that it's them. So like, I think there's a good blend here, like having these kids be, no-name actors, having the parents be no-name actors, and like the only other well-known actor in this is Jaleel White, who has like a small part. But it's also like Jaleel White, no disrespect to Jaleel White, and he's doing a great job. When I see his character on screen, I'm not like, Urkel's back. He's a totally different character, and he's been out of the spotlight for 30 years now.
Has it? Oh God.
Yeah. I believe maybe almost 30 years, but I believe Family Matters ended in 96, if I remember correctly.
It's somewhere around there, 96, 97.
Because they recast the mom for like a season or two, and it was really bad.
Yeah, it was not great.
But no, it's like those, like Jude Law and Jaleel White are like, I think the only well-known actors.
I mean, you could argue. The voice of the supervisor this week,
Yeah.
well, Nick Frost, but also the voice of the supervisor this week was Stephen Fry.
Mm-hmm.
He's in everything. Doesn't count.
That's true. But a well-known name, name. But I agree with you.
Yeah, it's it's easier because you had Alan Tudyk as K2, and it's like when it's a voice, when they're doing voiceovers, I think it's a little different. But like, yeah, I think like Daniel Glover as Donald Glover, not Daniel Glover.
But I also feel like, obviously,
as
not
Lando, it was good.
Yeah, not my era of Star Wars, but I also feel like Star Wars always has this tradition, even back to like the original, where it's like a bunch of unknowns, but there's one known actor in there. The sequel trilogy being like Oscar Isaac at the time was well known. You go to
He
the
was
prequels.
a known actor.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he was not getting like
Yeah,
blockbuster roles.
Same with,
John Pedro. I'm sorry. I hope that happens in the finale. I would love for that to happen in the finale, just as a callback.
same way with like Liam Neeson in Phantom Menace, or like
Liam
Peter
Neeson was a
Cushing
well-known
in A New
actor.
Hope and that
Sam
kind of
Sam
stuff.
Jackson, I think, is the prequel trilogy
Liam Neeson,
one.
Natalie Portman and Ewan McGregor. Honestly, the prequel trilogy had a lot of well-known actors.
They did, but
Like
they were kind of at the start. Like Ewan McGregor had Train Spotting. Like if you've
And-
seen Train Spotting,
I think he did Go. Did he do Go?
was that after?
Might have been, but yeah, he was known for Train Spotting.
Yes.
He was like, even as like 12-year-old me, I was like, it's the guy from Train Spotting.
Yeah.
Like my cousins had that on VHS, and I was like, that's that guy.
Yeah.
And Liam Neeson was Schindler's List. Like
Sam Jackson was Sam Jackson.
Sam Jackson was Pulp Fiction. Everything he's done. And then Natalie Portman was in The Professional and did a couple other things. Like
Yep.
she was a known actor, probably as well known as Oscar Isaac at the time.
Yeah.
Of the sequels. Whereas, yeah, because like the originals, it was Alec Guinness and Harrison Ford, and that was
Yeah.
it. Like that was it. Like Corvette Summer doesn't count.
Well, Billy D as well for Empire and Return.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Billy D. Williams was a well-known actor. But yeah, like it is interesting to see like some of that discourse going on when I'm like, yeah, it is like a good mix most of the time. Because Felicity Jones is a well-known actor even before Rogue One.
Yeah.
And she did phenomenal in that.
Oh,
She's got a new movie. She's got a new movie coming out that I do want to go see.
Didn't it won a bunch of awards at the Golden Globes, didn't it?
I think so. Yeah. Because like I went to go see Nosferatu the other day, and they had a trailer for it. Which Nosferatu, very good movie, very good movie.
I've heard it's very gory. Is that true?
No.
No.
It's a vampire movie. There's going
Yeah.
to be blood. I think it's a gross movie in a lot of aspects. It's not. It is. I'd say if you've seen a horror film in the last 15 years, it is no gorier than anything else that has been out. So it's just a very well acted, very well shot gothic horror film. So I do recommend it. And that's another one where like known actors, but not super well known actors. You had Willem Dafoe as the big guy that everyone knows, and he's incredible in everything.
Yes.
Especially Antichrist, if you haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that.
It's wild. You don't need to see it. It's very wild. You should not have your kids like they should be at their grandparents or they should be not within a 10-mile radius of the house if you watch Antichrist.
Good to know. Good to know.
But yeah, anyways, Skeleton Crew. I'm very curious as to where this show's gonna wind up. Like where we're at, where we've left off, because I feel like this episode was very much all building tension for the finale. Like it was just so many things piling on top of each other. There wasn't like, I mean, we're 7 episodes in. There's not like there's character development in the fact that like Jod is most likely just an evil dude.
He's a fucking asshole.
He's an asshole.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, it's just like the entire show, everyone has been saying, you can't trust this guy. Like, no one has said otherwise about Jod, and the kids didn't want to listen. And I feel like we as an audience also didn't want to listen. Like, we like Jod. He's funny. He's got some cool things.
It's the reverse Han Solo trope.
It's Jude Law. I mean, Jude Law can't be evil.
Yeah, it's oh no, we've seen a likable asshole before who starts off as an asshole, but they become likable. This is Star Wars. They can't just go deeper into it.
Yeah. And it is turning so many tropes on its head with his character. And I'm just I'm very excited for next week's episode and the finale. Like, I'm very excited to see what they decide to do. Like,
there's so many, like, I mean, they're isolated. Like, we know the pirate Corsair can't get through the barrier.
Can't get comms out.
Can't get comms out. Like, this is coming down to, at this point anyways, Jod and the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the parents who almost screwed up doing something as simple as getting a communications buoy off the ground.
When the camera panned down, like when it first started, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get like Jod's flashback," and then it panned down into the woods, and we saw the parents. I was like, I'm not expecting this at all. Like, that took me back to Point Sunrise.
When they were switching, I was like, they're gonna go back. I figured they were going back to the parents because I was hoping for like a parents only episode, and we didn't get that. And the fact that we've gotten so little of the parents up until now, that I was like, they're gonna have to do something with the parents, either this episode or the next. And it was one of those things, like, I know it was kind of supposed to be serious, but I did find it funny. Just one by one, they were getting stunned and just like,
and somehow managed to stay up to keep the communication buoy up. Whereas most people we see in Star Wars, they get stunned and they drop like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah. This is... I like the chase scene that we kind of got with the parents where, they're all running from the droids with the communicator and they're basically, doing a rally race with the communicator, or a relay race, not a rally race.
Yeah.
One day I'll get words right. And it was like, it felt like a good chase scene. Like, are they going to get the communicator out? Like, there were stakes. And I know like a lot of people love to dunk on the Kenobi chase scene in the first episode. And I get it's a little cheesy, but it's like, it's one of those things, like this show, like I said before, it does really feel like this is the culmination of like so many things that they've learned over the years, and kind of like a wink, wink, nod, nod to like, we heard you. And we want to do this a little bit better this time. So like, yeah, I really appreciate all the little details and little things in this show. And this episode is like no different.
I also liked how because I thought like when they were doing the relay race, I was like, oh, it's gonna end with Wim's dad being the one that puts it up. So when Wim's dad went down, like Vern's mom picked it up, I was like, oh my god, I didn't expect that either. So I was expecting her to be the one that sends it off.
And the fact they knew it was them when they're like undersecretary, like, you need to stop or we'll stun you, and like the droids, like just all you see is like the lights around them. I was like, that's really cool, like visual and stuff like that.
Very much like, for me, I don't know about you guys, very much evoked E.T. Like that chase scene through the woods, with the flashlights. Like, very, like, again, the 80s parallels and vibes of this show have been on point.
The flashlight in the woods, it's very X-Files, very Twin Peaks, very E.T. There's so many shows and movies from there. It was like the flashlights, like you're being hunted by a flashlight is what it was always going on, and it's cool to see that. And yeah, like with the next episode, like I want to learn more about AT-AT, and I hope they really dive deep into what AT-AT is. The one thing that I thought was cool was the parallel from episode 1, the beginning of episode 1, with the door opening to the one credit on the floor, to Jod walking into the Mint with just walls lined with credits, and he takes off that one singular credit and it all falls at his feet.
Yeah.
Like I love the parallel between those two scenes. But it's like, what are they doing with this Old Republic Mint? Like is it going to the Republic? It feels like it can't.
Well, and it feels like they've been waiting for a while, because the droid said they had 1,139 vaults that were like that.
Yeah.
Which means clearly at some point they stopped sending things out and just started storing them. And like I had a crazy theory last week about what I think is going to happen, and how this is going to connect into the wider universe, because we know it's happening same time as Mando and all the other shows. Who needs money in a fleet right now?
The Republic.
Thrawn.
Oh.
And what would be a more like devastating, almost like Thor Ragnarok type ending than having the Chimera show up outside the barrier?
How would Thrawn know is the one thing.
Well, I mean, if there's anyone in the galaxy who's likely to have the ability to connect dots as to what might be, it's him.
I wouldn't say the Chimera jumping. I mean, it could do that. I could see it being like Jod contacting the remnants of the Empire, and the remnants of the Empire connect him to Thrawn type of thing.
Or
and then you get Lars Mikkelsen, like it could be like he's talking to someone, but you don't see his head.
Yeah.
And then it turns around, then it's and then just Lars is Thrawn. And
Yeah,
a hologram.
or Jod comes out of the barrier and there's the Chimera and like his pirate ship's in ruins.
Or
and it's just
or Steve Urkel gets on the comms with Thrawn.
Yeah. Like to me, that would be a really cool way and a very ominous way to not only build the stature of the type of villain they want Thrawn to be, but a really great way to let the story of this show be insular, but still connected into the larger happenings of the galaxy.
I guess the one thing that why I don't think we'll see like I don't think we'll get like that moment where like a Chimera or something like comes over at Aden is like I do think this show is going to give us the happy ending. And I think if you have a Star Destroyer arrive at Aden at the very end, like that's not the happy ending. It's like, well, what happens to the people on Aden? What happens to the kids? What happens to their parents? And unless they go off world past the barrier to live a new life. But then it's like, where do they go? They go and live with Kim on the moon,
There's a lot of books to keep kids busy on that moon. I mean, they could be happy
fair.
there.
That's fair. Yeah, I wonder if this is like, every the way I always think about it is every show, every short series, everything, it's a test, right? It's Disney testing, what works, what doesn't. And I wonder if this is like, what if it wasn't connected? Like it just existed in the Star Wars universe. How will the reception be? If it's just like Luke's not involved, Han and Leia are not involved, Kylo Ren and Rey are not involved, Mando's not involved, and Thrawn's not involved. There's no Ahsoka coming here. It's just, this is just a story in the Star Wars universe. And that's what I wonder if they're going to do, because the only connections we've gotten are Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Like there's no, like we don't have a Ki-Adi-Mundi showing up, right? We don't have Boba Fett, popping out for an episode. Like Rex, Captain Rex hasn't showed up to say hi, like there's no connective tissue besides like spaceships and lights, and there's a lightsaber. Like,
and then mentions of the New Republic. And like,
it's like they talk about, I think it was episode 1 or 2. It's like, oh, you guys didn't hear about the war. And it's like, yes, there's things that make it so that, yeah, they're clearly in the same universe, but they're off doing their own thing. Because it's like they could have just as easily done the resort plays on Canto Bight, right? Like, and I wonder if like they're purposefully trying to separate it from everything else. But it could also be cool if it's like, how do they connect it?
I also feel like if they're going to do a happy ending type of thing and not do Remnants of Empire, I could see it like as an ending scene of like Wim's dad like talking to the New Republic, and then like it's Carson Teva or something like that on the other end of the comm.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's like a vocal cameo or like
reestablishing connections to the New Republic. Like I could see something like that, but it's like the other thing that, I would be maybe concerned with if it's like a Thrawn or an Ahsoka type situation is it's like, does every single show now have to have like, do we need to all be building up to this end game moment at all times? Versus just like, hey, it's just a story. It's just a story about pirates in space.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, I'm with you. I would be perfectly happy if it stays insular and allows itself to end as just its closed story. I think that the story has earned it. It has stood on its own so well. I'd be perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, I really like the concept of this story has been able to subvert expectations. Like this is a show that definitely appeals to kids, but it's also not the Disney/DreamWorks where it's like, here's the adult jokes that is going to go over the kids' heads. Like it's not like there are some a little bit, but it's like, it's not relying on that. Like it's relying on just a good story and like well-paced episodes, and having these kids be relatable people, like and like using something like these kids are not just like, they're obviously acting like kids, but they're also kind of acting like they give you that feeling of like, I would have related to this, I would have related to Wim when I was a kid, or I would have related to Neil or Fern or KB when I was younger. And I think that's what makes this show really special. And again, is like the discourse around this show has been normal. Normal.
Which has been great. It's been nice to open up TikTok or watch YouTube videos and not 5 minutes in go, fuck.
Yep. Yeah. Or you watch an episode and go, what is going to be the discourse of this week?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you know, I hate to say it, like the one thing that's there for the carpet nuggets, to steal the term from Dyad, has been KB's parents.
Yeah.
KB has 2 moms. But you haven't heard a word.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I know that if you go into the deepest trenches on Twitter, you'll find it. Like it's going to be there, but it really hasn't caught on to that mainstream grift yet. And I'm hoping it doesn't. Like, but it's one of those things of, and this has always been a very frustrating thing for me when it comes to like that side of social media, is where is the same energy when it's good?
Yeah.
When you don't hate it, like, why is it that you can only extrapolate on how terrible something is, but when you get something that's not terrible, it's good, people are enjoying it? How come you can't extrapolate on the themes that you're seeing and the enjoyment that comes out of it? It's, to me, it makes it feel even more forced and more fake when it's just like, this is a good thing, and you can't talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, and I think at the end of the day, I think you've hit it bang on. It's like it shows that the outrage is mainly fabricated. It's there because when most people are happy and you're the negative one, you stand out and you get more traction and you get more views and you make more money. Let's be honest, that's what a lot of them are doing it for.
It's oh my god, you hate the show, what the hell?
Yeah, but when a show is good and generally it's liked, like Skeleton Crew has been to this point, you're just another face in the crowd.
I also say it falls reverse way. Like if something is like widely hated and someone says, I actually kind of like this thing, then I think it flips just the same amount of heads. It's just as much as the opposite. It's
being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian.
Yeah. And it's like, I can understand that. Like, I know, like Harith and I have talked about it. It's like there are people who have done the I want to be negative, like as part of a caricature, right? Like if you look at the Angry Video Game Nerd, like, yeah, he's a negative person, like, but it's part of his character. But he's also like a character that like he can play a really bad old Nintendo game and still tell you what he likes about it. Like he'd be like, yeah, I think the world design is really cool, or I think the story is really cool, but like the controls are abysmal, and like the fact that I get pushed 300 blocks away and fall into a pit just from getting touched by a bird, like it's infuriating and it's a bad game. But he's like, again, he's doing it as a caricature. He's trying to over exaggerate his negative feelings. And I think so many people took that kind of formula and like ran with it in the completely opposite direction, or the completely wrong direction, where it's just like there was a nuanced discussion that he was having with bad video games back in the day, that people just took the nuance out and were just like, people clearly like it when you say something smells like diarrhea when you play it. And it's just like, that's what they've turned this whole thing into. And it's just like, it's very frustrating. Like, did you see the interview with Nick Frost, by the way, about Skeleton Crew?
Was that the one he did with Collider?
No, this was like a smaller content creator.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't seen that one.
It's a little snippet, but it's really good. The interviewer says, how would you, you know, they're talking about Skeleton Crew. He's like, how would you rank the 6 Star Wars movies? And he goes, there's 9. And he's like, the interviewer was like, ah, and he's like, no, there's 9. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if I'd count those. And he's like, if we're playing that game, I don't count 1 through 3.
Nick Frost, the goat.
And and he was like, you got to understand, I'm a 53-year-old white man. Like, when those movies came out, like, those were not canon. Like, those were like, George screwed us over. Like, and it's like, if I'm being dead honest with you, here's my ranking. The original Star Wars, that's it. That's the best one. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There you go. That's my ranking. and he's like, yeah, okay. I still don't like midichlorians. I'm a 53-year-old guy. I still don't like midichlorians, but like, I've rewatched those movies and they're fine. Like it was like the guy was like, the interview was like, oh.
I'm assuming it's like, no offense, I don't mean like stereotyping, but like some 20-year-old white guy that's like, he was just became a journalist for the first time and it's just like, I grew up with the
I'll send it to you. It's not a white dude.
Oh, really?
I think I just found it. I'm gonna have to watch it after. Like, I can see Nick Frost's face when he asked the question, and it's like, excuse me.
So it's so funny to me because I remember I had a coworker who was older, much older than I. He was in his 60s. And this was when Book of Boba Fett was about to come out. And we were talking, he was like, oh yeah, I grew up with Star Wars. I love Star Wars, you know, all that stuff. And he was like, I don't share the same views, but he was like, Star Wars is always just going to be the original trilogy to me. Like, that's it. Like, and I think there's way more people than a lot of people realize, is that Star Wars for a lot of people is it's just the original trilogy. Everything else is complementary. But he was like, yeah, I don't like the prequels. Like, I just dislike the prequels. And then I was like, well, how do you feel about the new movies? He's like, I like them more than the prequels because they feel more like the originals. They feel like Star Wars versus like this wild robot space opera thing that like has this weird love story that doesn't make any sense. And it's like, and they're turning Darth Vader into this whiny baby that cries at his dreams. And he's like, it's not for me. He's like, I know kids love it, but it's like, for me, it's the original trilogy. The new ones they're cool because they look like the originals. And it's like, I think there's a lot of people, again, in like that older demographic where they're not concerned about the interconnectivity of the themes. They're not concerned about the books. They don't, if you told them about the Clone Wars, they probably haven't even heard of it. And it's like, I think a lot of those people who really dislike the prequels, when they watch the sequels, it's like, yeah, it's not the originals, but it's got Han, Luke, and Leia. Like, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like, I think we've all said it at various times. Love what you love. If you just love the original trilogy, that's fine. If you just love the prequels, that's fine. The point is, don't shit on other people's love of different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like John said, like, I think Rogue One is like, I think that really invigorated a lot of people's enjoyment, and I think that coming out right before Last Jedi also helped for like older audiences, where it's like you got a movie that literally ended as the original one was beginning. And it was, you know, it's a nostalgia bait for sure, but it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's bad storytelling or anything like that. But it's like, that's what it feels like. And I think for so many people that I'm just going to say we're not born from 1997 or later, like, to them, Star Wars is Luke, Han, and Leia. It's X-Wings. It's Star Destroyers. It's the Death Star. It's not the clones. It's not the battle droids. It's not Anakin and Obi-Wan. Yeah. Obi-Wan's an old man. He's not Ewan McGregor for a lot of people. And I think, go ahead.
I would say like the Rogue One thing. I think it's like to a lot of people. I think Force Awakens and Rogue One it's very much comfort food, and I think the Skeleton Crew can also get thrown into that category. Same with the first. I'd say the entirety of the Mandalorian. Like to me, like those 4 Disney Plus projects and Disney projects are very much like, if you like the original trilogy,
Yep.
this is comfort food. You're like, okay, this is like, I know what this is. I like this. This is just fun.
Yeah. And I think that like, and I know that everyone's going to have a differing opinion on this, but it's like, I think the younger audiences that really love the prequels, like I think they are generally more happy within animation. I think that because of the Clone Wars, that's Star Wars for them. And to me, like that blows my mind that like Star Wars is the clone troopers, not the stormtroopers. But like that's why I think when you get stuff like Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire, like they may like or dislike one or the other, but like for a lot of those people, like getting to see young Count Dooku in Clone Wars animation, like that's peak to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas seeing the stuff going on with the Empire, they don't necessarily care about the Empire, and that's why I think the live action shows with older audiences are doing better. Like my dad does not care about the animation, and like he watched Kenobi and like thought it was fun and good, but like to him, Alec Guinness is Obi-Wan Kenobi, not Ewan McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he sees stuff like The Mandalorian and there's stormtroopers and X-Wings and TIE fighters, when he watches Andor and it's the stormtroopers, when he watches Book of Boba Fett and he sees Luke Skywalker there, like
that's his bread and butter.
That's Star Wars. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And I think something like Skeleton Crew, I don't know if my dad has been watching Skeleton Crew, because like he didn't really like The Acolyte. He thought it was fun, but he was just like, who are these people? I don't know anyone. Oh, Yoda showed up for 3 seconds. But like he doesn't know who Ki-Adi-Mundi is. Like he doesn't care. And it's one of those things that like I think that for someone like my dad who grew up with it, it's just like Skeleton Crew probably is going to feel better because it's going to feel more like that classic Star Wars. And I think Skeleton Crew has nailed a lot of that. Like when I look at, there was a moment when, and it was a really good moment when Wim is at that flight panel. He's like, I wish I would have never done this. And he's looking at the little green button he pressed at the, beginning of episode 1. And it's like, they do kind of like a close up shot of that panel. And it's like, that is a light bulb under a green little, little glass. Like this is, someone wired this together and someone made this with their hands. And it's just one of those moments where it's just like, this is what Star Wars is. This is like, it feels fantastic, but you deep down inside that this was just some guy soldering wires underneath a chair.
It feels real. Like it's fantastical, but it's not like you look at it and it's like, I could see that kind of button on like a bandsaw in woodworking class or something.
It probably is.
It probably is.
A bandsaw operational light that was stripped out and put on the chair. That's Star Wars, though, right?
Yes.
And that's like what a lot of people. And again, I'm not trying to dog on the prequels. I love the prequels, but like when all of a sudden the ships were sleek and curvy and reflective, and they had these crystal clear live hologram readouts, it was just like, what? Where's the switches that Han has to press? Where's the lever that Chewie pulls? Where's the little dial that the TIE fighter pilot will do to get his targeting in? It's like, what is this touchscreen bullshit?
Yeah, because like Star Wars to a lot of people is worn down and broken down aesthetic. That's what it is.
And look, there's lore behind this as to why Nubian ships look the way they do, why ships of the Republic versus the ships of the Empire and the New Republic look different. We have these explanations buried deep in so many chronological books and art visual guides, and like, sure, great. I love that stuff. I know you guys love that stuff. Like, we want to know all about this, but like most people, they just want to watch the movie. They just want to watch these shows. And I think the interior of the Onyx Cinder just works so well. It feels, again, it's a ship that feels like it was lived in, like understanding that, like, and the one thing that like I didn't really put together, and I feel like I should have, was like the first video I did about the Onyx Cinder was like that little viewport feels out of place for that ship. And I was like, is it, you don't really see it. It's on the port side on the left. It's like, you don't really see it first. And I was like, I wonder if that's like the Star Trek view screens. Like it's not an actual window. And the thing is that viewport looks the way it does. It doesn't quite look Star Wars because it's from At-Aten. And I thought that was really cool, is that the interior of that ship, the way those seats are designed, they're not the Han Solo style seats. They're not the X-Wing TIE Fighter seats. They're nice.
Mhm.
And when you see that, like, that ship has very special connections that go onto that landing pad, and then, like the kids say, it's not a pirate ship, it's an At-Aten ship. And it was like, it was really cool to see all that design, you know, kind of translate into that. And I was like, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
And also, I think you highlighted the moment. Like, I feel like, well, yes, I think Jude Law stole this episode. I think the second place person is definitely Wim's actor. Like, I feel like Wim had a lot of great moments. That's like the I shouldn't have pressed it moment. And then also when Jod kills to me and he looks up at like, and like they just lock eyes, and like Wim's like, you're not all what I imagined the Jedi would be like. That moment is just, oh my God, how does that not rip your heart out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the kids. I agree. Like Wim's character, this was his strongest episode. Like, and he didn't, like, realistically, he didn't do a lot, but just the way that his body language gave off emotionally the journey that he went through in this episode, I thought was so brilliantly done. Oh
no.
We haven't gotten any cameos.
It's true.
Wim started in episode 1 idolizing the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Loved the Jedi. He was reading about the Jedi the whole time. When he met Jod and he saw him pull the key in episode 2, amazed. And he looked up to Jod simply because he was a Jedi. His view of the Jedi has been tarnished because of Jod. In the finale, is there going to be a Jedi that shows up to take on Jod and reinstill the faith of the Jedi for Wim?
Cal Kestis? Anyone?
I'm thinking they've already done Luke.
Yeah.
I'm
Ezra,
thinking,
maybe, because it could be post Ahsoka season 1.
No, because I think they're gonna keep Ezra for Ahsoka season 2. I'm thinking Cal or Ahsoka, depending on where it is.
Oh, because Ahsoka, I thought it depends where it is, because it has never been confirmed where it is. We know it's in 9AB, but we just don't know where.
Yeah, we just don't know where. I
don't think it's going to be Luke, but if Cal Kestis shows up,
I will lose my shit if Cal
as
Kestis
like
shows
like
up.
It's one of those things, like, I can say all day and all night, like, these shows don't need cameos. You can keep it on. It's like, but if Cal Kestis, if Quinlan Voss shows up, you know,
we know he's around.
He's around.
God, now I want Cam Monaghan to show up next week.
But like,
Ben Solo shows up.
Cal would be like such. I know it's not going to happen. Obviously, I think the arc of the season. I don't think we'll get a cameo like to reinstill Wim's hope with the Jedi. I think his arc next episode is going to be him just overcoming that, and then him strategically beating Jod in some way.
Maybe.
Like,
I mean, I will say, like, if there is going to be a Jedi cameo, Cal makes the most sense. We know at the end of Jedi Survivor, he is on a planet that was formerly home to a High Republic Jedi temple, which means all of that information is going to be there. Why would
all the stuff
exactly? Why would the information about the Jewels of the Republic? Because I bet you anything, it's probably just called the Jewels of the Republic. If it's in the databanks in that temple, he'll know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Also, Cal is such a good visual contrast to Jod visually with like the blaster, the lightsaber, like the jacket and everything.
Oh, now I want this to happen.
Cal is the supervisor.
Are you saying that this is Kobo? Or sorry, not Kobo. This is
No,
Tanalor?
no, I don't think it's Tanalor. I just think that he's been running the show the whole time. He's protecting the Republic.
Are these force sensitive people?
Maybe. I think this is a stretch.
I think
I like this stretch though. I like
this stretch. I like the stretch. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to get gaslit into like
if we're going to a kid friendly kind of ending, like again, I think having a Star Destroyer or something show up on the planet, like it ruins the happy ending. I think even if it's one of those things of like, oh, you live in a facade, like a simulation of a planet, like how do the kids go back to that, right? Of it's like, how are you going to go back to like, because he's like Wim says, like, I still haven't taken assessment yet. Like there's no way he's taking that test. Like there's no way that I don't think there's any way that the citizens of AT-ATN go back to their daily life after this. Like the facade is lifting, and the undersecretary, Fern's mom, knows that there's shit going down that should not be going down. What if this is not like an evil, sinister plot? This is just to protect the New Republic.
I have an idea.
Oh, okay.
So I still am sticking to my guns. I don't think we're going to get any type of Jedi cameo or any type of... I think the most major cameo we're going to get next week is Carson Teva hearing about this. However, I would not be surprised if how Wim overcomes Jod is he outthinks him with his greed, but we get like a hint of Wim being force sensitive, because I think they've been kind of playing around this season with like Wim's idolization of the Jedi. So I would not mind if it's something like when like overreaction, like force pushes Jod into something. And that's how he beats him.
I've thought that one of the kids would end up being force sensitive.
And the season ends with Carson telling him, because we know Luke is establishing his new Jedi Order this time, that Wim.
That means Wim dies. I don't know if
we don't know. He could just leave the order before Ben just kills everyone. We have like 20 years of story.
I was gonna say this is still before Ben would have been born.
Yeah,
no?
This is before Ben would be, because Ben was conceived. I hate saying that. Was like roughly born around the Battle of Jakku, so he's about like 4 years old right now.
Yeah,
5 ABY.
Yeah.
So he's not even like Wim being in that order. Like I said, we have a lot of time before Ben joins Luke's order, because he doesn't join Luke's order, until my knowledge, until like he's like 16, 17, because that's when he starts really going down and like I need you to take him.
I don't think that AT-ATN is going to be Tanalor. I could see having a character like Cal Kestis knowing of AT-ATN, and maybe like that communicator went out, right?
Yeah.
And the kids saw it. Like there's a chance that
someone else is going to.
Episode 8 opens with, I'm just going to frame this in your heads.
Okay.
The back end of a ship, just the engines. And it pans around. You don't really see the ship. And then you just see the comm from the parents. Turns it off. It's Cal Kestis. Zooms out. He's on the Mantis. And the Mantis is flying into AT-ATN.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Not that I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but
I like that. Anything that happens now is going to pale in comparison to that, Chase. My dislike of episode 8 is going to be directly related to this now headcanon. Why should happen.
Why episode 8 is woke?
I love how I'm being the list of the three.
Yeah, like the other thing is like Hondo Anaka just lands on the Onyx Cinder, not knowing that he just did it, and he's like, "Oh, I smell profit," and it's like, "Oh, Jod died," and it's like, "Oh, you kids are so cool. You remind me of my favorite girl, Katuni. I'm gonna get off your ship. Just give me
Have you
one
ever
of
heard
those
the name
traits.
Ezra Bridger?
See you later."
That kid over there looks like him a little.
I do think this is one of those things, like, we haven't gotten a cameo like thus far, and I'm like,
Let's
I
just
don't think they can.
pull one
I don't
out
think
of the
that-
bag.
I don't think they can help themselves. I think it's one of those
You've
things
been
like,
like gaslit.
it's just like I am okay with this. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That I don't think that Disney and Lucasfilm need to rely on these moments like Luke Skywalker coming out at the end of season 2 or Boba Fett showing up in The Mandalorian. I don't think they need to rely on these things. I don't think they need to rely on Asajj Ventress showing up in the Bad Batch. Like, it's cool to see them, but it's also like one of those things, like, this show, cameo or not, still stands up on its own. Even if like episode 8 is like kind of a downer of an episode, whatever it may be, that's fine. Like, this show was still fun like throughout, and it's like, yeah, like, if they want to have fun and just throw people in an episode for a little bit or do something cool, like, I'm fine with that. Like, it's fun. It's cool to see these characters. It's cool to like hype yourself up and like understand that like the chances of this happening are like 0.001%, but it's like, it's fun to do these things. And because like Cameron Monaghan has said multiple times that like, or he's hinted at like, yeah, I'll probably wind up somewhere in a show or something like
You think
that.
it's like the very much like the NDA answer? Because like I remember when before
Oh,
they
yeah, he
originally
gives
came back
NDA
for Star
answers.
Wars, it's the I'm open to it. Hint, 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 hint. I'm actually
Yeah.
signing a contract. I can't say.
Yeah,
shit.
I mean, like, if you look at what like Jude Law was saying about his character, like, it's like, if he danced around it, like, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna betray these kids. He can't say that. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. Like, the only reason I'm kind of bringing this up is you have 5 adults, 4 kids, with no weapons. They have a ship, right? That does have maybe doesn't have weapons anymore.
No,
because
I think it's still there, isn't it?
It's still got the claw and stuff, and
The laser turret's still there.
yeah,
yeah, okay, yes, it does have the claw.
Yeah.
So they could use that, but like, they are being cornered by a dude with a lightsaber and has the Force. Like, what are they going to do, right?
The only way I can see them turning the tables is to get the pirates to turn on him.
Yeah.
but it's also like, how are they going to get the pirates from?
and how do they
outside
trust
the
the
planet
pirates to
inside?
not steal
Yeah,
all the booty?
exactly.
That's why I'm like, is there a Jedi already on At-Aten? Is the supervisor a Jedi? That like the Republic knows about this mint, and they are keeping it secret. You know, is there a
It's
Jedi
possible.
that's going to hear that comm? You know, anything can happen. I think for all we know, like, the X-wings are going to come to At-Aten, right? Like, and
Oh yeah, because she's still called the New Republic, so they're following the trail of like where.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, and that way it's.
So
I
many
think
good
that
avenues.
Wim. I don't think they will leave Wim feeling like the Jedi aren't the good guys. I don't think that's going to happen.
I would agree. I think that to keep that kind of childhood wonder is a way to kind of tie that.
They're
happy
not.
little
I
bow.
don't think they're going to use this show to have a kid walk away thinking the Jedi are bad, and then he'll go make 20 holo vids about how the Empire was actually right and the Jedi are actually evil.
Oh my God.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Why did they give me like that one character in Bloodlines that like that idolizes like the Empire the entire time?
Will
That's what it's
Will
totally-
Will joins the alt empire. He becomes an alt emp grifter.
God, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, I think there will be either one of the kids will have the Force, and that's how they stop Jod. There is a Force sensitive or Jedi-like person on At-Aten already, or there's a Force sensitive person coming to help. Like I think that's gonna be, and I might be totally wrong. I'm fine with that. I just the way they've set up Jod's character is I feel like there needs to be like an almost a savior character to counter that.
Yeah.
To reinstill all the goodwill of the Jedi.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, the kids are kids. They're not. Even if one of them is Force sensitive, they're not suddenly going to be able.
They're not going to beat Jod.
Exactly.
Which is why like, I hope it's almost like they don't physically beat him, but it's something like they like mentally outthink him and use kind of his like greediness against him or something against him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't.
The rat in SM-33's eye is going to put him back together. That's going to be the savior character.
I'm glad he didn't step on the.
I thought for sure he was going to.
Oh,
he just nudged him out of the way.
You guys were right. Wait, hold up. I mean, I know Smee's probably dead and they're not going to bring him back, but KB
No.
can put him back together.
I think Smee's gone.
Yeah.
I think Smee is gone. I think that's like, if Jod's not going to have a redemption arc, right, at the very last episode, which I don't think he will. I kind of want it, and some part of me wants it, where he'll realize like these kids are actually pretty all right, and you know, I don't think it's gonna happen.
I don't think it's
gonna
that
happen.
Put
I think-
it in a direction.
I think
where
that
it's not.
him killing Smee means that Smee is gone. They're accepting the loss of Smee. I think they didn't step on the rat because I think that's excessively cruel, especially for a kid's show. I love that rat. He's adorable.
He's fantastic. Is
Yeah.
the rat Captain
Rat's-
Rened?
The rat is the Jedi, actually.
The rat is the Jedi.
Yes.
Well, hear me out. Maybe the supervisor is just the friends we made along the way.
Maybe. I am gonna go with.
I'm going with Cal Kestis.
Cal-
You
I'm also
put that in my
thinking-
head now.
I'm also thinking the supervisor is a person.
You think so?
I think the supervisor person, because the voice wasn't very droid-like.
True.
If you listen to the droids of At-Aten, they are very processed voices, and obviously he's coming over through like a PA, basically. It sounded pretty human to me.
So Stephen Fry next week? That's what we're saying? Stephen Fry next week?
Probably.
Yes.
Stephen Fry the Jedi.
Sherlock Holmes reunion.
I don't. The thing about all these Disney Plus shows is I feel like most people who try and predict it, I feel like don't get it right. Like I feel like they do a pretty good job of surprising everyone. So I'm not going to hold my breath for Cameron Monaghan to show up. Would be cool. I think it would make sense. Because I think where they left us off in episode 7 leans into that being a possibility.
I'm also trying to like reverse meta this in my brain of like, I'm like, what would be the most like John Wattsy thing to do? And I think it's
Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire just comes out of a portal.
All you see is a little
And he's like-
sling wing portal. He's like,
because to me it's
Or
like,
Andrew Garfield will be holding onto the onyx cinder just
Yeah.
like this.
is this
Why are you
enough?
throwing bread at me?
because to me it's like the most thing to do. It's like Wim figures that himself, and something with Luke. I think that's like the two answers.
I don't think they're going to use Luke.
I hope they don't. I really
I don't think I think they have used Luke. I think
Yeah.
they want to.
That's why I
Hold
said the
Luke
mention
back.
of like a mention or something like that. Like
Sure,
like
we're gonna.
Wim learned of him type of thing, kind of like how they kind of did it like Ahsoka with Anakin, where it's like a mention, like a Wim's like,
Yeah.
who the hell is this type of thing.
Yeah. I think, you know, if we think back to like Kenobi, where like the show ended, but then there was still kind of that epilogue.
I could see that with this
Yeah.
ending with that, where it's like Wim leaves and goes off to Luke's academy. KB joins the New Republic.
I don't think he's
Neil-
gonna. I don't think the academy is going to come into play. I think let's just stick with Cal, because I think it's an easy one where it's not like we're not reusing a character, we're bringing a new character in.
Yeah,
it's one of those things like, let's say the kids outsmart Jod, they take care of him. I don't think Jod is going to die. I think Jod is going to get arrested, basically.
He's such an interesting character that I kind of want him to survive into the Dave Filoni movie, because you can use him in so many different ways, because it's like he's a force sensitive character, he has connections to the criminal under. It's like he's like almost the adversarial opposite to Boba Fett. It's like the antithesis of everything that Boba Fett isn't. You can use him in a very interesting way. I can see like how Thrawn could use him. Like I could see how he's such a versatile piece in this puzzle.
So could we even see something simpler in terms of a cameo? Maybe it's not a Jedi as much as now I want it to be Cal, and I will be disappointed if not. I will whine about it on next week's episode if Cal doesn't show up. What if it ends with them making contact with the New Republic and who they're talking to is Mon Mothma?
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I would 100%.
I'd be okay with that.
Genevieve O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like something simple that connects it, I think would be really good.
Just to make you more upset is because, and I'm just thinking camera work here, right? Is the conflict is resolved. You know, Jod is getting hauled off into a New Republic prison freighter. You know, whatever it is, right?
That's also a good answer.
Hera,
Yeah,
Hera could be
I would
cool.
be good with that.
If Hera could, oh man, okay.
Space Mom helps kids out.
Let me get two scenarios out to you. Let the kids beat Jod at his own game, right? You know, let the kids be their own heroes. I think that could also be really important. And then in your little epilogue, New Republic ships are coming through the barrier of At-Aten to kind of like let the citizens of At-Aten know, like, the New Republic is, you know, here, and there's not a sinister plan. Maybe it is a droid, and like these droids have just been on autopilot, and the citizens have just like been, you know, blissfully unaware. And outside of a ship, you have like at head length, you have Wim, and then someone walks up and they're wearing a Jedi robe, and he sees a lightsaber.
I would kind of like that, and we kind of theorize like, who is this person?
Oh no, wait. And it's like, and you know, maybe Wim reels back like a lightsaber, kneels down, Cameron Monaghan, and it's like, "Hi, Wim, my name's Cal Kestis."
Oh, yes.
And it's like, I will, you know, whatever the line may be, right? And like, however he's going to make him feel better about the Jedi again.
I love that.
Plot 2 of the epilogue.
I don't want to hear plot 2. I love plot 1.
Same setup. Coming down the New Republic ship, it's Harrison Dula. And, you know, Wim has a line like, I thought I could trust the Jedi. Like, and then she leans down and she says, I want to tell you the story of the greatest Jedi who ever lived.
Oh, no.
Why, Chase?
Roll credits.
Oh, why?
Oh,
his name was...
God, no.
Why do you have to do this, Chase?
Elon Sleaze Pagano.
Oh, either of those would be great.
But like, I could see also like the Hera setup. I could see it going like multiple ways. You could have it be Ahsoka. You could put it right before Ahsoka season 1. Boom, she's with Ahsoka because they're still looking for Ezra. It could be Sabine because Sabine's still with helping Hera. It could even be after Ahsoka season 1, and it's Ezra and Hera are looking for Ahsoka and Sabine where they went. And then Ezra heard this call about these kids dealing with a rogue Jedi who went crazy and tried to kill everyone. Mm-hmm. And Ezra has these connections to help him because of his connection to Lothal.
Yeah. So many options.
So many good ones. Oh, I can't top those. Both of those would be fantastic. Both of those would
We'll
be great.
see. We'll see in a couple days.
Now, I have a question for both of you. Do you think the barrier makes it out of this season?
No, barrier comes down.
I think they're shutting it down.
Yeah.
The barrier comes down.
I think so too.
I don't want to use the term liberate, but I think this show ends with At-Atten joining the Republic, like actually joining the Republic, and
Oh, I could see Fern's mom being like the representative for At-Atten.
sure, yeah, yep, I could see that. At-Atten, I do not believe. My hope is that At-Atten is not a sinister place. Like that At-Atten is an experiment gone wrong, or an experiment that was lost to time, and it just happened to just go on in perpetuity.
Mhm.
And the people of At-Atten coming to terms with like, this is the Republic is gone, but there is a new Republic. And this is a good opportunity to have Zeb show up, maybe, right? Let's just throw in everybody. And it's just like, just the New Republic gets to come in to be the good guys without the nuance, right? And it's just like the New Republic helps save At-Atten. Like, they're just the good guys in this. The X-Wings come down, kind of like what John said, is Wim knows X-Wings are good guys now. And so X-Wings come down through that. They shut down the barrier. The X-Wings blow up the pirate ship. And they come down, and New Republic vessels come down and be like, we have a lot to talk about. Because the one other thing is, in the comm, Wim's dad says, you weren't supposed to find out until you're older.
Yes.
They laid that kind of in the open, just left it there.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things of, we know that there's something going on with At-Atten. Like, what do the adults know?
Something. I mean, I think we'll get that answer to an
yes,
extent.
100%. I don't think it's going to be sinister. I don't think that there's some evil plot of At-Atten. And I do think that the barrier comes down.
Yeah.
I think there's no way that these kids and these parents go back to their normal lives. Like that, their lives are forever altered by this.
Yeah.
And it's, how are they going to portray that?
So many. I am excited for this. Like I think out of all of these season finales, other than maybe Mando season 1, this is the one that I'm most excited for, because this episode has served it up so well that I just want to sit and watch it now.
Yeah. This has got me the most, I think I agree. This has got me the most anticipating. Like, I am very much anticipating the finale of this. Like, with the Acolyte, I was like worried about the Acolyte finale. Like, ooh, there's so many questions I have about this. And there's really not a lot of questions about this. It's just, how is it all going to play out? Like, what's the secret of At-Atten? Like, that's the question I have, right?
Yeah.
And then it comes down to who makes it out, who comes out on top, how do they come out on top? Like, it's not like these mysteries that I'm like, how are they going to wrap it up? Like, I have no issues. I have no concerns about how they're going to wrap it out. But like with the Acolyte, going from 7 to 8, I was like, oh, there's so many unanswered questions here. Like, and I like the ending of the Acolyte. I like the way they wrapped that up. But I think like the finale of Andor was really good.
Yes.
Like John said. But I also wasn't like, I don't feel like I was on the edge of my seat, right? From like between the second to last episode and the last episode.
Yeah, and I agree with Nick. Last time I think I felt like this anticipation for a finale, even though it wasn't one of my favorite live action seasons, was Mando season 3. Like with the Praetorian Guards, of like, how the hell, like, what's gonna happen next? It's like, the relation of Mandalore, like,
with Gideon,
it's kind of the same energy. Of like,
I think Mando. Well, yeah. Mando season 2, like the finale of Mando season 2 is like an iconic finale.
Yes.
And then the penultimate
But,
episode
like,
had the cool
it
moment with
didn't
Bill
have
Burr.
it didn't have the like what's gonna happen here. So yeah, like I'm excited.
Yeah. I think like for me, the penultimate episode of Mando season 1, where Gideon makes his debut,
Oh,
as it were, was just like
You have something I want.
like that to me is the top of when it comes to penultimate episodes building into a finale so well. This is right there with it for me. Because I'm with you, Chase. I'm sitting here anticipating and excited and impatient for this final episode to come out.
Do we know the length of the last episode?
Not that I have seen anywhere.
Okay.
I mean, I hope that it gives it a sufficient length, but I think like we've talked about it before on previous episodes, this show has done very well at telling it a great story regardless of the length of the episode.
Yes, 100%.
I also agree with John. Like this episode felt like, even though it was like a 30-minute episode, it felt paced really well.
Every episode has felt like it didn't take up too much time, and it felt like a lot was happening within that time frame. And again, like you said, and we've talked about this at length, it's just like the issue is not the number. It's not the minutes. It's not the episode count. That's not the issue. If you think that's the issue, you're dead wrong. The show proves you wrong. Like the show has shorter episodes. It has a shorter episode count, and it is really good.
Yeah.
Like it's exceptionally well done. Like I'm pleasantly surprised with how good this show has turned out. I've got like I don't really have issues with this show. Like I could if I really wanted to, I could like nitpick anything, right? But I don't have the desire to do that. And it's really hard for me to like pick apart the show, like with anything.
Yeah, no, I mean it's been, and I think one of the things we talked about when we talked about after the premiere was how this was a show that no one really had at the top of their list in terms of anticipation. Like it's a Star Wars show, we're excited for it, but it wasn't at the same level of say a Mando or an Obi-Wan Kenobi or an Ahsoka, and it has been, at least to me, I think the most consistent in terms of its story quality across the live action shows.
Yep. I feel like there hasn't really been any filler episodes in this, or anything that felt like filler. It feels like, it's an adventure that they're going on. So they're going to go to different places. They're going to have different experiences. And it feels like every time that they've gone somewhere, one of the characters has learned something about themselves, or one of the characters has grown. Like from the pirate outpost to Kim's Moon to at Akron to the Skull Island thing, the luxury Skull Mountain. Like they all learned something at each one of these steps along the way, and now they're back on at Atten, and it's not going the way they planned. It's not how they anticipated it. So like every episode feels like it's been meaningful to the story.
Yeah, I agree. 100% I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I think that about wraps it up. I mean, it's just going to be a matter of next week. That's it for Skeleton Crew. And who knows, maybe it'll end on a cliffhanger of sorts where we're going to see a Skeleton Crew season 2.
I would love that. I really would. Like, I would be happy if this show ends with this season and has told the story it's told. But if they want to give us a season 2, I won't say no.
Yeah. How do we get the kids back onto a pirate ship?
Well, to me, I also am of the mindset of like I wouldn't mind if this is a one and done too. Like I'm open to everything. I'm like,
but I'm not going to be if they're like, this is it. We just wanted to do this one story, and they're like, cool, great, that is totally okay with me.
I am happy with this.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for this evening. Nick, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on most every social media site at NDWiseGuy, except for Twitter. My account's there, but it's not being posted to, so don't bother following me. I will be spending the next 5 days making 60 videos about how Cal Kestis is going to show up in episode 8 of Skeleton Crew. So stay tuned for that. And as always, I do constantly yabber on about the High Republic and what's coming with that. So feel free to follow along.
Awesome. Harith, where can we find you all over the internet?
All over the internet, or well, I guess you can find me in some places at Harith Productions on TikTok. I mean, even though it's going to be temporarily probably
what's
banned.
your Tumblr?
My Tumblr? How do you know about that? I'm kidding. I don't have it. You can find me at Harith Productions on
your furry fan fiction Tumblr. Tell me all about it.
Something's happening to TikTok. Everything's fine here. I don't know what's something happening for you guys.
Okay, all right, you Canadian. Anyway, you can find me here Productions on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and of course, you can find me here at the Pod Ones, where Chase is gaslighting everyone into thinking Cal Kestis is going to show up. Chase, where can you gaslight more people?
You could find me on Tanalore with Cal Kestis heading straight to Adden. No, you could find me on at Forward Into the Black on TikTok, and once TikTok is gone, I just cease to exist.
No.
It's been a pleasure knowing you. Then, if that's the case,
I die. I power down.
Will your Force Ghost show up next week? Do you think that's a possibility?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
No,
we still have
10
TikTok.
days.
We still have TikTok.
Okay.
When we come on next week, it'll be the weekend of that. So
We'll throw a funeral.
please do. That'll be it for today. Thank you everyone for joining. Thanks for chatting with us and talking about Skeleton Crew. We will see you next week. Talk about how Cal Kestis didn't show up, and now I just got Nick's hopes up. See ya.